Welcome to the BiggerPockets Money Podcast, Finance Friday edition, where we interview Stephen Fan and talk about having a baby and setting up your financial runway before starting to invest.
I grew up kind of poor. I talked to my grandma about it the other day because I remember there was a point where we couldn't afford $29 marching shoes. And so I've never had more than 50, maybe even $100 to my name ever in my life. So I get to college and they gave me like a $2,000 refund. And so I believe there's two types of people in this world that didn't grow up with money. Either you didn't grow up with money and you save every penny, or you didn't grow up with money and you spend it. Oh, I spent all my money. Oh my gosh.
Hello. My name is Mindy Jensen, and joining me today is the inimitable Jay Scott, master of everything.
Mindy, I have absolutely no idea what that word means, but I'm going to assume you didn't just insult me there. I am thrilled to be here.
It means you're okay.
I'll take it.
Jay and I are here to make financial independence less scary, less just for somebody else, to introduce you to every money story because we truly believe financial freedom is attainable for everyone, no matter when or where you're starting.
Yep. And whether you want to retire early and travel the world, whether you want to go on to make big time investments in assets like real estate, or maybe you just want to start your own business, we're going to help you reach your financial goals and get money out of the way so you can launch yourself toward your dreams.
Jay, I am super excited to talk to Stephen today. He has an interesting set of circumstances where his investment portfolio is on the low side. But the reason for that is because he has $100,000 in debt that he and his wife just got finished paying off. So that is something that we need to celebrate. Hooray! Because that is, yay! That's a big deal. $100,000. That's like a whole salary, or let's be honest, that's like 2 or 3 salaries that they paid off in 2 years. And now they can start their investing journey, their financial independence journey. So this is their story.
Yeah, it's a great story, but here's the thing. They paid off $100,000, but now Steven's in a position where he's getting ready to move on to the next job, and he's got some hard decisions to make. And hopefully we've been able to help him make those decisions or make that decision and put him on the right path.
You know, I think that's a really great point. Episode 157 of the BiggerPockets Money Podcast is Scott Trench and I talking about how to have a money date with your spouse. And that is something that I recommend not only Stephen and his wife do, but anybody who is in a position where they're not quite sure where they want to go or what path they need to choose. I think having a money date with your spouse to figure out what path you want is a really great opportunity to just get a read on what your spouse is thinking. What is their opportunities that they're looking at? And so episode 157 is a good thing to listen to help guide you down your money journey path.
Yeah, my wife and I like to do this, and there are a lot of Friday nights we'll open up a bottle of wine. We'll talk about our financial situation, where we want to be in the next 6 months or 12 months or 24 months. And it's not a formal sit down, have a serious conversation. It's really just a let's get to know each other from a financial perspective and what we're thinking, because financial perspectives change over time. And if you're not staying up to date with what your spouse or significant other is thinking, you're running the risk of kind of diverging and falling behind each other.
Yep. And I heard this quote from somebody, I can't remember, but I love it so much. It isn't you against me. It is us against the world. So the two of you need to be on the same page, and having a money date or a money check-in is the best way to make sure that you're on the same page. So it's the two of you against everybody else.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Okay, before we bring in Stephen, I am compelled by my attorneys to say the contents of this podcast are informational in nature and are not legal or tax advice, and neither Jay nor I nor BiggerPockets is engaged in the provision of legal, tax, or any other advice. You should seek your own advice from professional advisors, including lawyers and accountants, regarding the legal, tax, and financial implications of any financial decision you contemplate. Stephen Fan is 29 years old and fantastically happily married with a baby on the way. Yay, babies! They have just paid off a whopping $100,000 in debt. Hooray! That is something we should celebrate. Nice job, Stephen and your wife, and are fantastically debt-free. Now they've got a journey ahead of them. Stephen, welcome to the BiggerPockets Money Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Like, I actually can't believe I'm talking to you. I think I watch you like almost every day. So it's like, you know of my existence.
Now we're best friends.
BFFs.
Okay, Stephen, We are BFFs, and as your best friend, I have some things I'd like to talk to you about. Let's talk about money. Okay.
Let's do
I'm
it.
gonna show your financial situation to the world. I'm gonna share it with my friend Jay Scott, who is here joining us today. And we're gonna look at what you have coming in, where it's going, and what we think you could do a little bit differently to improve your financial situation. First of all, let's celebrate that $100,000 in debt that you paid off.
Woo woo! Let's
Yay!
go.
Woo! Okay. What did that consist of?
So it consisted of $50,000 in student loans, $40,000 in cars, and $10,000 in credit cards.
Okay. And you still have the cars, you still have the education, but now you don't have the debt. Hooray, hooray, hooray.
Right. I only have one of the cars now.
Okay. Well, still, the debt's gone, and that's what matters. Let's look at salaries. Right now, we have a salary of $5,600 a month with a side gig of $810 a month and another side gig of $650 a month. And we'll get into that in a little bit because I think that's very interesting. But right now, it's just the really quick personal financial situation. Monthly expenses, this is where I'm going to focus a little bit more attention on, Stephen. And the reason is I think we can tighten some of these up. We have rent of $1,200 a month, which I think is great. I mean, where can you rent a property for less than $1,200 a month? I mean, you're really getting into some sketchy.
We got lucky because of my wife with that rent.
That really seems like a great thing. That's not what I'm going to focus on. We have approximately $800 a month in bills, which are $430 in utilities, $270 in subscriptions. And those subscriptions is where I'm going to focus on. We've got YouTube TV at $70, HBO Max at $16, YouTube Premium at $20, Disney Plus at $15, Netflix at $20, Experian at $43, the gym at $27, Microsoft 365 at $10.81. I don't have a problem with the gym membership. I'm wondering why you need YouTube TV, HBO Max, YouTube Premium, Disney Plus, Netflix. That's a lot of TV.
And here's the thing: I don't even care about the money you're spending. Like, that's $100 a month, big deal. $1,200 a year. Obviously, you could save $1,200 a year. But here's the real question: how much time are you spending watching TV and doing things when you could be doing other things that could potentially be supporting your financial growth?
Well, personally for me, I don't really watch a lot of like the subscription stuff. The only thing I really watch is YouTube TV for all my sports. Like I gotta watch my Cowboys. I gotta watch A&M. Like, it's mainly. I wish there was a TV, like a YouTube TV, but only sports. So the other subscriptions, it's mainly my wife because she works nights, and so she only works 3 days a week. So she's at home 4 days a week. At night, she can't really go anywhere. So really, it's to kind of entertain her throughout the night.
I will put a pin in this, and she's not here, so
She's sleeping.
we will.
She works
That's
nights.
a research. That's a research opportunity to say maybe you remove one of those over the course of a month and see if you really miss it, or you remove 2 or 3 of them. But that's an opportunity.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking about doing is like kind of like a carousel. Well, she'll watch just 2 of them for 1 month and then cancel it. Then the next month she'll watch the other 2 or 3, and then kind of just do like a ping pong kind of thing to save money.
Or like Jay said, is there something she could be doing? I mean, there's a baby coming, so maybe there isn't. I mean, those first few months, there's a whole lot of nothing that you're doing. You're just taking care of the baby who's like, hey, no schedule whatsoever. Then we've got normal weekly spending as $600 a week. Okay, that seems reasonable, $2,400 a month. And then when we look into this, we see personal spending of $2,250 for you, personal spending of $1,750 for your wife, fun money for $10, gas $105, $25 for household expenses, $15 for cats, $100 for groceries. This all seems fine and good. And then a whopping $330 for restaurants. I am going to call you out right now and say we can cut that down to $0 a month, or I'm sorry, a week, $0 a week for restaurants. Maybe you will increase your groceries a little bit. That is, Jay, do the math really quickly. What's 330 times 4?
1320.
1320. that you could be saving every month just by not going out to that's a lot of restaurants, $300 a week, not a month. So that is also a research opportunity. You do have $14,000 in savings, which is awesome. Savings for the baby. And your investments, your wife has a 403B with just under $2,000 in it. Again, they did just pay off a whopping $100,000 in debt. And your wife's pension plan has $12,000 in it. So overall, I think you are sitting fairly well. I think you need to look at, you don't need to do anything. If I was in your position, I would look at my expenses and see what I could cut out and still live a happy, fun life.
And here's something to consider. I'm a big fan of projecting into the future and doing the math. And if you do the math, if you can literally just cut out $100 a month, and whether that's in eating out, whether that's in your subscriptions, whether that's a combination of those or other things, literally just $100 a month, and you take that money and you put it in a typical real estate investment that returns 10% a year. And we can talk about what investments you should be in, but let's say you're in an investment that returns 10% a year, and you can take out $100 in expenses right now every month. When your child turns 18, you're going to have over $60,000 in savings. That's right now 2 years of public college. So you can literally, just by cutting out $100 in expenses per month, you can literally save up 2 years of college expenses for that child.
Oh yeah, I'm having a baby. I forgot about college. Oh man. That's another thing I got to worry about.
That's another thing to add to the growing list of things to think about when that baby is born.
But I did want to ask, your expenses, do those factor in the changes that you're going to be seeing when the baby comes?
I get it, because I love making spreadsheets. The only thing I really accounted for was that in the budget we were just gonna probably add about an extra $125 a week to like all of our daughter's needs. So most of the things that we're gonna keep kind of consistent, but I think for now initially, because like we'll probably adjust as she gets older or like depending on how it goes. But yeah, we're just gonna add about $125 extra to our weekly spend for her. That includes like diapers and formula and any other things that the baby needs.
Oh, if that's diapers and formula, that's going to get eaten up really fast with that $125.
Oh yeah. Luckily though, we had our baby shower on Saturday, so we were good on at least a little bit of the diapers right now. And then I think my wife is planning on breastfeeding for a little bit. So
okay. Well, let's look at your money story. How did you get to this point in time?
Okay, so my money journey actually started when I was a junior in high school. So when I was a junior in high school, I was able to go to this program called the TAMS program here in Texas, where it allows you to skip junior and senior year, and you start your freshman and sophomore year in college. And so by doing that, I was eligible to get the Pell Grant at 16. And so I'm gonna back up a little bit. I grew up kind of poor. I talked to my grandma about it the other day, because I remember there was a point where we couldn't afford $29 marching shoes. And so I've never had more than 50, maybe even $100 to my name ever in my life. So I get to college and they gave me like a $2,000 refund. And so I believe there's two types of people in this world that didn't grow up with money. Either you didn't grow up with money and you save every penny, or you didn't grow up with money and you spend it. Oh, I spent all my money. Oh my gosh. And so got to A&M, and this time I had a full ride, and I ended up getting a $6,000 refund. And yeah, throughout college, I didn't spend my money wisely. I spent it on women, which is a big regret of mine. So that happened. But then, so after I left college, I met my wife. And I remember in the beginning of our marriage, we were kind of living like we worked like minimum wage jobs, maybe 10, 12 bucks an hour. We had an apartment, we had a savings. I mean, it was a good life, but nothing changed really until she passed her nursing board exam. And that was the first time any of us had made serious money. I'll never forget her first paycheck as a nurse, $1,722.14. We had never made more than $800 in a paycheck, and that was more than double. And we worked at the same hospital, so I went on the corporate side, and so I made a little bit of money as well. And oh my gosh, we thought we were balling. I mean, we tried living the normal American life, getting 2 new cars. We had a house. We got a cat who's sleeping right behind me right now. And so on the outside, everything looked great, but on the inside, I mean, we were like hemorrhaging because like we were in just so much debt. And so one day, you're probably gonna think I'm a nerd because sometimes I'll do things because like I'll do the Pythagorean theorem because I remembered it from high school, or I'll do derivatives and integrals. One day I did a TVM calculation on our debt because I just remembered that was like my favorite thing to do back in economics class, and I did an
What is
amortization
TVM?
time value of money. So I did like a amortization schedule where I put like, hey, we pay this much a month, but this much goes to principal, this much goes to interest. And man, that was the most eye-opening experience of my life. And I was like, why is this bank getting $5,000-$6,000 from me? Why is Sally Mae getting this much money from me? Why is my credit card? And I realized my credit card interest was like 26.99%. So they were getting a lot of money from me. Yeah, I know it's pretty high. And so that was an eye-opening experience for me. And this is before I'm a big Dave Ramsey guy, but this is before I even found Dave Ramsey. And I I didn't even tell my wife. I just said, "Oh, we're paying off all this debt." That's what I love about my wife. She's a very easygoing. I have a plan. She just goes with it. So March of 2019, that's when we started our debt free journey, and we've just been on a journey ever since, and finally paid off $100,000 worth of debt.
That is awesome that you paid off $100,000 in debt. That is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I love that because I remember I started my financial journey like I awoken like you did when I was your age, when I was 29 years old, and I had $30,000 in college loans and other debt, and so I mean I was right around the place where you were, and it basically started the same way it did with you. It's like I'm running some numbers and I'm looking and I'm thinking like, wow, how much money am I spending? And one of the things I thought that was really interesting that you said was when people grow up without money, they fall into one of two buckets. They either end up spending lots of money or saving lots of money. I was like you. I spend money. I am a spender. Money burns a hole in my pocket. But what I've learned over the years is that as long as I'm focused on spending on things that add to my financial value, cash flowing assets and other investments, that's a good thing to be spending on. So for anybody out there that's listening to this and you kind of empathize and feel like, yeah, I'm in the same spot. I like to spend money. I can't hold on to money. I grow without money. Just remember, there are lots of people like us out there, but focusing on spending that money on investments and cash flowing assets, that's a great way to kind of be in both camps. You can be somebody that's a spender. You don't have to change your personality, but you can still be doing right for your financial future.
Investments over women. Wait, did you spend your money on women as well?
I didn't. It wouldn't have helped.
Okay, so Stephen, what is your greatest money pain point? How can we help you today?
Well, so over the years, I feel like I've slayed the personal finance dragon. I've slayed the credit card dragon. And I feel like slay the debt dragon. I think the only dragon left to slay is like the investment dragon. So like investing is really new to me. So that's pretty much one of the pain points that I have. And also I would like to be part of like the FIRE movement. So I don't have a lot of friends or family that are aware of it. So there's certain things I can't talk to them about. Like I've mentioned the FIRE movement to my sister and how I wanted to retire in 10 years. And she thought I was like the craziest person like on the planet.
I have to continually remind myself when I'm talking to people who don't live by me. I live in a FI bubble. I live in this like FI mecca. I live in Longmont, Colorado, which is where everybody comes. And I am constantly surrounded by people who are in this space. So it is, I mean, honestly, it's really great to be able to have these conversations with people. We nerd out a lot, but I'm not the only person who lives by people who are in this space. And there are, have you been on Facebook? Do you have a Facebook account?
Oh yeah, I'm a millennial.
Okay, well, listen. Some people, my kid is like, oh my God, Mom, Facebook's for old people.
Mindy's still in MySpace.
Yeah.
I tried logging into MySpace, but I'm surprised it's still active.
I don't know how to use that. Anyway, BiggerPockets Money has a Facebook group, and there's also the podcast Choose FI has done a really good job of creating local choose FI Facebook groups. So where you are at, I know there's a local choose FI Facebook group. There are people in my Facebook group who are local to you. Have you ever thought about starting a local meetup group?
I actually have started it. Oh, well, not started it, but I have started thinking about it. But sometimes I'll have a thought, but then like I don't go through with the thought. So that's I think you're gonna give me the push that I need because it would be nice to kind of have like a fire group like here in Dallas with me.
Also, keep in mind that you don't need to have a local group of friends. I mean, we're in a digitally connected age where you can have friends from all over the world. My core group of kind of mentors has grown through BiggerPockets. I jumped on BiggerPockets in 2008 when I wanted to learn how to invest in real estate. And many of the people that I met back in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, I'm still in communication with. Some of them I've literally only met once or twice at BiggerPockets conferences or other BiggerPockets events. But these are people that we share a WhatsApp group or a text messaging group, and we talk as if we've been best friends forever. And we, in a way, are, but we're each other's mentors, but we do it digitally. We don't live near each other. Some of my friends are like on literally the other side of the world, but we can still communicate. I can ask them advice. They can ask me advice. So one of the things I would recommend is, in addition to trying to build a local community of people that you can see in real life, also use the internet, build up relationships with people that you can have a digital relationship with. And again, start a WhatsApp group, go on BiggerPockets and make friends on BiggerPockets, start a Facebook group, start a text message group, whatever it is, because these days, that's just as powerful as meeting people in person a couple times a week.
That's true, but it would be nice to have like local people around too, because like I did spend a few years pretty lonely, and life. I haven't this like so the past year was like the first time I reconnected with old friends, and this has probably been the best year of my life. So it would be nice to have like local people and like the digital people as well.
Yeah, I think both approaches are absolutely valid, but having a support system, having a local support system so you can go out and
Mhm.
to a park and have a nice little picnic with a bunch of different people and have these conversations. And here's the thing, my local groups don't get together and talk about Roth IRAs and 401k contribution. I mean, we do. Of course
Sounds
we
like a
do.
great. That sounds like a great party.
But the conversation like flows in other directions, and we talk about, a great beer that we had or a movie that we saw or, what our kids are doing. It's not just all this money nerd stuff. It's this giant flowing conversation. And it almost feels like, because I know we've got this huge frugality or financial independence mindset in common, that's taken care of. And now I know we're instantly friends. Like you and I, Stephen, are best friends now. So
BFFs.
BFFs, I know that we already can talk about a ton of other things. We don't just have to talk about money. I mean, today we're just going to talk about money, but we can go out and do these things. So that is a research opportunity for you, is to figure out how to start a local financial independence minded meetup group. And I mean, you mentioned that you're in the Dallas area. That's an enormous area. That's like half of Texas is the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Right.
So there are going to be a lot of meetups where it's like in the southwestern corner, but you live in the northeastern corner. It's going to take you 3 hours to get there. Start one by you, because there are people who are just like you everywhere across America, across the world. There are frugal people who are into financial independence, who may feel isolated like you and just want to connect with somebody else.
I'll definitely give that a try because I think I just realized I'm actually on the Bigger Pockets Money Facebook page. I think that's where I discovered where you posted about being on the show. That's where we first talked.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
welcome, and go in there. And if you are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we'll start a conversation in that group. Let's make a note about that. We'll start a conversation in that group. Let's start a meetup in that area so you can have conversations about financial independence and not feel so alone, because it can feel really lonely when it feels like you're just you and you talk to other people. They're like, retire early. What, you mean like 62? And you're like, no, way earlier.
I'm talking 40.
What, are you going to win the lottery?
No, I'm going to invest.
Yeah, invest in real estate? No, you're going to be a slumlord. You want to invest in real estate? Oh, let me tell you all these horror stories. Those are not the people that you talk to about investing in real estate. Are the people who tell you how bad of an idea it is. You talk to people like me and Jay Scott. Hey, Jay, do you like real estate as an investment class?
Let's talk about it. I love real estate. What are you doing in real estate?
I love real estate too. It's my favorite investment class.
Yeah, it's so important to have the right people around you. And as somebody who's a good bit older than you are, what I found is that over the years, you're naturally going to be attracted to people that think the way you do, that have the same goals as you do. I know when I was younger, it was really tough for me to say there are certain friends in my life that probably aren't good for me because they didn't think the same way. It didn't mean we couldn't stay friends. It just meant that they weren't going to be my core set of advisors and mentors and people that I really grow with financially. And so in a lot of ways, I have separate groups of friends where some are kind of in the same boat I am, financially speaking and thinking, and other people that aren't. And so you just have to make sure that you surround yourself with enough people who are in the same boat and who do think the same way, so that you're not demotivated and you're not constantly trying to fight to have these thoughts that nobody's supporting.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't stress what Jay just said enough. You don't have to dump your old friends, but if they're not supportive in what you want to do, you need to find somebody who is. Um, let's look back at your financial situation. Let's go to the income part of your financial situation. We have a salary of 5,600, and this we talked before we started recording. This is your wife's salary. You don't currently have a job, but you do have two on the horizon. Let's talk about what they are and which one you're going to accept.
Okay, so that's kind of like I've been asking a lot of people because I'm really torn between these two jobs. And so I kind of want to get y'all's opinion and whoever wants to comment in the section as well. So job one is with an investment bank. And it pays about $50,000 a year. However, it's a hybrid schedule. So I have to be 1 week on campus, 1 week on campus, 1 week at home. But there's so much growth opportunity with this position. Job B is with an insurance company. That doesn't involve, the other first job involves talking to customers all day. And so we would have to take our daughter to daycare. And so something about taking our daughter to daycare makes me a little nervous, or I kind of wanted to spend as much time with our daughter as I can. But the second job, it's a work from home, fully remote, no talking to customers. And me and my grandmother will get to watch our daughter, my daughter full time. And so there wasn't a lot of growth opportunity with that job though, but I believe it pays about 60 a year. Oh, I have to also mention, for 401k nerds out there, the job with the investment bank has a 17% match. And so that's why do I take the 17% match, or do I get to stay at home and watch the baby full time while working?
So the job that would allow you to stay with the baby also pays more. Did I hear that correctly? 60,000 versus 50,000?
Right, but pretty much I'd just be at 60 for like, assuming I stay at that job, it would just pay 60, like pretty much, but no growth. But I could take the 50, kind of, I wouldn't say be miserable, but like it'd be very tough because that's customer service is like, I did that for like pretty much throughout my whole career. Kind of wanted to get a job more productivity based, but at least they pretty much said after a year, if you wanted to go to another department, you can. It's more of just like just to get your foot in the door. So there's so much growth to where like I'm pretty sure I can make 80 and 5, which is I have a spreadsheet of like a plan of, how I would invest and what I would do if I started making 80 in 5 years. But 17% match. I need to emphasize the 17% match. That's ridiculous.
Okay, and how much would you estimate your daycare expenses would be if you took the job that's paying less at the beginning?
So we found a daycare near us, and it was the cheapest one. It was about $800 a month.
So on day one, your options are basically the $50,000 job with the 17% match, which gets you to like $58,000, $59,000 a year. But you also would have to pay about $10,000 per year in daycare costs.
Right.
So that job would gross somewhere around $48,000, $49,000 a year. Safe to say?
Safe, yeah.
Okay, so $48,000, $49,000. The other job is $60,000 a year. You don't have the match, but you don't pay daycare, and you get to stay home with your child. So on day one, that first job is paying $12,000 less, and you don't get to stay home with your child. That to me, even though the first job might have growth potential, do you think that, let's say a year out, you could still find that you could still go back to that job that had growth potential if you chose?
I was thinking about that. I'm pretty sure like I would still have an opportunity to kind of do something a little bit better than the original offer that was offered if I got back. That's something to think about, I guess. Yeah, but I think I'd still have an opportunity.
Yeah, so for $12,000 in additional income, plus, and again, this isn't always just about the money. Being able to stay with your child for the first year of your child's life is huge. And so certainly, I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I would seriously consider the job that will net you an extra $12,000 a year and allow you to stay with your child for that first year, and then reevaluate after that year and say, hey, maybe I now want something that has higher growth potential. Maybe I have another option with childcare or daycare. But basically, take the opportunity to be with your child for that first year because you'll never get that back.
Yes.
Plus, you get an extra $12,000 that first year.
That is true. I don't know if this helps with the decision too, but job A has 3 months of paternity leave, but the job B doesn't offer any paternity leave. Does that factor in it at all?
Certainly, it does if you plan to only stay at that job for a
Just
year.
right, yeah.
If it's going to be short term, long term, again, there's a lot of personal decisions that go into this. When it comes to family and raising children, it's not always just about the money. So yeah, that certainly could factor in. But again, I would seriously consider that job that pays more and reevaluate after a year.
I'm even more torn now.
Well, I have something to throw at you. How uh, your side gig is taking care of your grandmother to the tune of $810 a month. So that tells me that she does need help.
She does, yeah.
You are taking job number 2 so that you can watch your baby at your grandmother's house while you're working. How much opportunity is your grandmother going to have to help out with the baby if she herself needs help from you for care? And how much opportunity are you going to have to actually take care of your baby when you're working? So, when the baby first comes, they just lay there like a lump and sleep until they wake up and then they're hungry and they need fed now. Thank you very much. And grandma most likely could sit in a chair and hold a sleeping 3-day-old infant and feed her. But can grandma wrestle a 9-month-old baby to hold her while she's, if she's super active and moving all over the place while you're on a phone call? I don't know all the ins and outs of this job, but I don't know a lot of employers who are like, oh, take off all the time you need during the day to take care of your baby and we'll still pay you for a full-time job.
That's a plot twist. I didn't think about that. I'm only thinking short term.
Yeah. So, and is this like a couple of days a week while your wife is working nights and then she'll take the baby on days that she's not working? Or is she sleeping during the day? I mean, there's a lot of things to think
Yeah.
about. The first couple of months are real easy, but also your wife's on maternity leave. The first couple of months are pretty easy because the baby really doesn't do anything. They're not mobile. But once they can flip over, once they can, start crawling and really start moving around, is your grandmother's house baby proofed? Like what is the real reality of this baby being at your grandma's house?
Ooh, you're right. That is tough because yeah, the first 6 months she'll be able to watch the baby no problem. But once that baby, starts getting energy and running around and crawling around, yeah, I don't think she's gonna be really equipped to handle that. My grandma. I mean, the only main thing I do with my grandma is more of medication management and just kind of taking her to places that she needs. So she's still like really high functioning, but I think with her being 80, taking care of a 9-month old might be a tall order for her. And another
Yeah.
plan that we were trying to have is mainly my wife working on the weekends, and then I'd work on the weekdays. So like at least one, a parent would be with her at all times. So that's another. Having a baby is a struggle, and a joy, but a struggle.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to think about that, you may not think about at the beginning. So your wife would work on the weekends and you're working during the week?
Pretty much, yeah, I'd work Monday through Friday. She'd probably work Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, that's kind of one of our plans, but she has to talk to the boss, see if that's a possible kind of schedule.
And how much of your side gig is still doable if you're working full time, you have to take your grandma to places she needs to go. Is that doctor's appointments? And they're only open when you're working.
Yeah.
Is there
Well, mainly though, she gets rides through like a Medicaid hotline. So normally I don't. I mean, I take her to the doctors when I can, but sometimes if I can't, then I have a backup. She has Medicaid has a ride program.
okay?
Uh, I think mainly though it's just be like before I get to work, it's just medication management for about an hour and a half, and then after work another hour and a half of medication management. So I mean, at least with her it'll work out. It's just trying to figure out how does the baby play in all this.
And so you're making $810 a month by watching your grandmother.
Pretty much, yeah.
Does that 800 does that go away with either of these two jobs, or is that going to be consistent regardless of
No,
which
it'll be
choice you make?
consistent. It'll be consistent because it's the clocking in is through like a remote system too. So if I take the remote job, I'll pretty much just double dip for 3 hours while I'm at the remote job. Or if I'm taking the other job where I have to physically go to the office, I'll just be there for an hour and a half before work, hour and a half after work.
There's a lot to be said for having the flexibility of being able to work from home. Even if you do have daycare, there's going to be child might get sick, or your grandmother might be sick, or just holidays and days when the daycare might not be open. And so there's a lot of things to think about. And I'm a big fan of when you have children, if you can be in a situation that's more flexible, it's probably better than a situation that's less flexible, especially if you're making more money at the same time.
I should just be a stay-at-home husband then now, right?
I tend to agree with Jay that while I love the 17% 401k match, I like job number 2 a little bit better. Here's the plot twist. How do you work from home? Are you somebody who can sit down in your home office and get work done? Or are you somebody who is a little distracted? And the reason that I ask this is my husband was working. He's retired now, but when he was working, they were all in the office, and then the office decided to remodel. So everybody got sent home, and some people really thrived in the environment of working from home. And some people were like, oh, I'm going to go on a walk and I'll just do it a little bit later, and I'll do it in a little bit later. And not everybody thrived in that environment, and some people were fired because of it, which wasn't really fair. I mean, they took away their office and then fired them when they couldn't work from home.
Oh, I know that struggle.
Yeah.
Because that actually happened to me.
It is a struggle to work from home sometimes. You're like, oh, I could just do laundry really quick. Well, yeah, if you're throwing laundry into the washing machine and then coming right back down to the computer, that's one thing. But, doing laundry and then cleaning the bathroom and like doing all of these things that require a lot of time, that's not what you're getting paid for at your job.
That's true, yeah. Because when I was working from home, I actually ended up being more efficient, more productive. And so I ended up doing more extracurricular things around the house, and they kind of found out about that. So I ended up getting let go.
Okay.
So yeah, you're right. Probably taking care of a baby while working probably won't fly with them.
So something to think about.
Yeah.
Do you have offers in hand from both of these jobs?
I only have the one offer from company A, the investment bank.
Okay.
Waiting. It's been 3 weeks for offer number 2, and I think my recruiter left. So there's that.
You think your recruiter left?
Yeah, because I tried emailing him, because you know how sometimes after an interview you send a thank you email. Well, it's like it got blocked, so it's kind of like I assume the guy left.
Oh, he left from the company.
Probably. I can't reach this guy. It's been 3 weeks.
Well, then I vote for job number 1 because
if that's the only
one. That right now is the only job that is on the market.
The job number 2 could come available. Yeah.
And baby goes to daycare, which is not ideal. I wonder if there is a hybrid daycare solution. I don't think there is, though. I know that there are people listening saying, "Oh, you only have to pay for daycare when the baby's there." I don't think that's true. You pay for daycare the whole time, even if the baby isn't there.
Yeah, we called about doing part-time. They said, no, you just have to pay $200 a week, whether she's here or not. So, well, there was option number 3, which was our original option before I decided to apply for these jobs. Originally, we were going to move back to Houston and have an unlimited babysitter with my mother-in-law, my wife's mother. And then my wife was just going to work as a nurse in Houston. So, but mainly we were just staying here now because of job offer number 1.
I don't know if you know this, but there was a little bit of a pandemic going on, and there's healthcare opportunities everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
What are the options in Houston?
Well, she has because originally we met in Houston, so she still has a lot of connections in Houston. There's a lot of hospitals. They're always in need of nurses, and so she was also considering case management too as well. So that she could work fully remote as a case manager. So yeah, originally that was what we were gonna do. We were just gonna move to Houston. She was just gonna find a job there, and then we were just gonna live in Houston and have an unlimited babysitter because my mother-in-law is retiring once this baby's born.
Okay, so I think one big research opportunity for you and your wife is to sit down right now before the baby comes and list out the different opportunities that you each have. If there's nothing really holding you in Dallas and Houston has a different opportunity in the healthcare or the baby care, look into that. Now that would take you away from working with your grandmother.
That's the hard part too. It's a lot of moving parts. Just life is fantastic. It's just we got to figure out how we're gonna make it fantastic.
Is your grandmother willing to move to Houston?
Oh, absolutely not. She's I tried
Okay.
asking her because we've actually lived it. Well, I grew up in the same apartment, but yeah, she's lived in that apartment pretty much my whole life, all pretty much 30 years. So she's like, yeah, I'm not leaving. She's pretty hard headed that way. So
Okay, I think that makes sense.
let's ask America what y'all would do in my shoes.
Yes, in the Facebook group, which can be found
Yeah.
at facebook.com/groups/BP money. Please let us know which job you think Steven should take. And well, I'm gonna go with the first job because there's not really another job
Yeah.
right now. But should he should he stay in Dallas or should he move back to Houston?
I mean, I prefer to stay in Dallas, but free babysit. I don't know. Life is just hard right now, so I got to make a decision.
Sitting down, well, you don't have to make a decision. You singular, you plural have to sit down and make a decision. So write out, you like making spreadsheets, you self-described nerd, make a big spreadsheet on staying versus going and what are the pros and the cons of all these different things. And, maybe moving for a year is a good idea, or maybe not moving is a good idea. Your mother-in-law is going to retire when the baby's born. Maybe she moves to you.
Oh no.
And then you still get to work with your grandmother.
Both women in my life are hard headed. They're going to stay where they're at. They're both hard headed.
Welcome to Lady. What? You're having a baby girl? She's going to be hard-headed too. You're
Oh
welcome.
gosh, yeah.
So the takeaway here, I think, is that you have some good options. A lot of people would love to be in the situation that you're in, whether you take job number one or you have an opportunity to take job number two, and maybe even if you move back to Houston, it sounds like your income is likely to be in the six-figure range, which is fantastic for a small family. So you do have a lot of options. So that's the income side. Let's talk a little bit about the expense side. So we've already talked about the fact that you may have daycare, you may have that expense, and we've talked about your subscriptions. Let's talk about your discretionary budget. So how much you're spending for things like food and having fun and eating out and things like that. Do you want to give us an overview of what your budget looks like for those sorts of things?
Well, when we started our debt free journey, we had to sit down. We kind of compiled all the bills and see what we can cut, and pretty much the current bills, which is $800 a month, which is about $400 per paycheck. This is stuff that we've just been paying for the past 2 years, and so pretty much and mainly it's just nothing but subscriptions, car insurance you can't avoid, cell phone you can't avoid. The only thing that's variable with our budget is just the electricity bill, and I like it cold. I like it at 68, even in the summers when it's 110 degrees here in Texas. So that's when our bills are the highest. But it's pretty much just a overview. I think the main thing is cutting out a lot or some of the subscriptions, I don't know which one to cut out.
Well, I notice here on your expenses, so you have on a weekly basis, you have $22.50 allocated for your personal money, $17.50 allocated to your wife's personal money, $10 for fun, $25 for house budget. Are those realistic? What are you doing with $22 a week? What's your wife doing with $17 a week? What's the $10 a week in fun budget?
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that up, just because. So again, we had to sit down and we talked about our like budgeting and stuff like that. So Pretty much one of the pain points when we started our budgeting was she's like, well, how am I going to get my nails done? How am I going to, like, well, how am I going to get my haircuts? And so 22, well, really what we do is we budget on a monthly, bi-weekly, weekly, kind of categories. And so my personal, her personal is more of on a bi-weekly schedule. So she gets about $35 every paycheck for her nails, and I get about $45 to get my haircut. The reason why there's a discrepancy, and I'm glad you brought that up. So I'm begging my wife to be involved in the finances. I mean, most people like don't even let their spouses involved with the finances. I'm begging her to come in, and so I just gave myself an extra $10 to see if she'll ever notice, and she hasn't noticed yet. So nobody tell her that I'm taking $10 more from my own personal money. And so the day she notices, that's when I'll give her $45 every 2 weeks for her nails instead of 35.
Okay. Well, I'm going to call her up when we're done.
Little small. Yeah. It's a little
Now that
small
we're best
financial
friends.
infidelity. Yeah. And then $10 for fun. Because during the pandemic and like even before the pandemic, we pretty much cut out all friends, all family. Like we just stayed home, and just like every dollar went towards our debt. And so ever since we got debt free, that's when I reconnected with a lot of my old friends. And so this year has just been amazing. So we get about $40 a month to have fun. And we don't drink. We mainly just go karaoke once a month. So it's pretty much our karaoke money. Or if we don't go karaoke with our friends, we'll go to a movie. It's just $40 a month just for us to have a little bit of fun. Because I don't believe in the whole Dave Ramsey rice and beans, beans and rice thing. So we got to have a little bit of fun.
Okay. You just said you cut out all friends and all family when you started your debt-free journey. And that makes me a little sad because you can still have a lot of fun without spending a ton of money. And Sarah Wilson is YouTube's budget girl, or Go Budget Girl. I should look that up. Sarah Wilson's been on the show several times. She has a fantastic story. I want to say she was on episode number 6. She shared how she paid off $30,000 in debt over the course of 3 years while making $30,000. And one of the things she would do, this is my favorite story, is she would have people over to her house and she would have a big potluck. Like, we're going to have baked potato night. I'll bring the baked potatoes. How much is a 10-pound bag of potatoes? It's like $5, or maybe it's even $10 now with inflation. But that's $10 and you're feeding your whole family, all of your friends. I mean, 10 pounds of potatoes goes a really long way. So you bake the potatoes and Jay will bring the butter and the cheese, and I'll bring the sour cream and the broccoli, and somebody else will bring bacon bits, and somebody else will bring chili, and somebody else brings all these little things. And then nobody is spending a lot of money. Everybody's having a good time because it isn't about what you're doing. It's about spending time together. So you don't have to cut out all your friends and all your family. You just have to cut out all of the expensive stuff that you're doing. You don't need to go out to restaurants and have a super expensive meal to have a good time. Which brings me to my next comment about food. I think you're doing great with $100 a month, or I'm sorry, $100 a week on grocery budget. I think that's a great grocery budget. Your restaurant budget, as I already said at the beginning of the show, I really don't like that in regards to your financial situation. You don't have a huge investment portfolio, and that is because you just paid off a ton of debt, which is awesome. But I would rather see you go out to restaurants once a week or maybe once every other week and take that money and put it into an investment. Jay had talked about how you can take $100 a month and put it into a cash flowing investment. And by the time your baby's 18, you've got $60,000. Here's a way to take $200 a week, maybe even more, and put that into cash flowing investments. What 200 a week is 8xing Jay's amount. So do your math, Jay. 8 times 60,000 is
almost $500,000.
So that's a little bit more that's more fun than going out to restaurants multiple times a week, in my opinion.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
So something that I have really enjoyed doing lately is going on Pinterest and finding authentic recipes for, I'm really on a big Mexican food kick right now. So I will find authentic Mexican food recipes and make them. And yeah, you have to go out and buy a bunch of ingredients, but you buy those and then you only use a bit of these fun specialty ingredients, but you can use them again and again and again because I mean Mexican food is like the same 87 ingredients in different packaging all the, all the time. So it's all the same thing just wrapped in different ways. And if you focus on one type of food, you can buy the specialty ingredients and then just continue to make these recipes over and over again and get really, really good at it. I'm now a really great Mexican chef. Come over for dinner, Stephen.
I will make a trip to Colorado right now.
Now that we're best friends.
He doesn't seem very excited about cutting back on the eating out.
Yeah, my doctor would be excited that I cut out Whataburger and Chick-fil-A.
Stephen, is there anything else that we can help you with today?
Oh, there's a lot of things y'all could help with me today. So many things. Let's start with investing because, as I said, I spent. The one thing I do regret was I did drink the Dave Ramsey Kool-Aid and didn't invest during the debt-free journey while I was working, and so I feel like we're a little bit behind since I'm like almost 30. So all of it's kind of new to me, and so I think when I was like helping my wife like picking her asset allocations for her 403b, I just did target date funds. So I don't know. Are there like any like principles to investing or like kind of like I think I've heard people they're like 25%. Total stock market, 25% total bond, 25 international, 25 something else. Like, I mean, what are some rule of thumbs that y'all would follow? Or some people are like 100% in S&P 500 index. Like what kind of rules of thumbs do y'all follow?
So I'm a big fan, especially when you're young. You're going to go one of two directions, and you kind of have to decide at some point over the next 10 years which way you want to go. For some people, they really get excited about a certain type of investing, and they can become what we call specialists. So somebody might become a specialist investing in real estate and decide, I really want to spend time learning about real estate investing, studying real estate investing, understanding how the numbers work, in which case, if you're really knowledgeable about some area of investing, and I'm using real estate as an example, but obviously there are plenty. But if you are willing to spend the time and the effort and the energy to become really proficient in one area of investing, it's less important to diversify because you have more control over your investments based on the knowledge and the experience that you have. That said, if you would rather spend that time not learning a specific area of investing, you don't want to study real estate, you'd rather spend that time with your child or doing whatever other stuff you want to do, in that case, I would recommend going with a diversified model. And the more diversified, the better. Now, you can be aggressive diversified. You can be conservative diversified. As somebody who's young like you are, I would say you can be more aggressive, but still be diversified. And when we talk about diversified, we're talking about different asset classes. So the stock market is an asset class. Real estate's an asset class. Precious metals is a reasonable asset class. There are a lot of different asset classes. And then you can even be diversified within each asset class. So like you said, in the stock market, you can be diversified across large cap or very large companies and mid cap, mid-sized companies and small cap, smaller companies. You can be diversified across companies in different regions and different countries and emerging markets. In real estate, you can diversify using passive investments in different asset classes like multifamily or self-storage. And there's lots of different ways to diversify. But the first question you need to ask yourself is, do I want to become a specialist in some area of investing? Do I want to spend time learning some area of investing? Or would I rather use that time for something else and then just diversify my investments across different asset classes? So I guess I'll turn it over to you. Which of those two seems more appealing over the next few years?
Why not both?
Well, certainly both. There's no reason you can't do both. The nice thing about getting knowledgeable and spending time is that typically that effort, that energy, that expertise translates into higher returns. With a diversified portfolio, you may be making 6, 7, 8, 9% per year, which is fantastic. It's more than a lot of people make relatively safely. With an expertise in some area of investing, and again, I'll use real estate as an example just because it's the area I know the best, you may be able to boost those 6, 7, 8, 9% returns to 10, 11, 12, 13% returns based on the knowledge and experience. So when we're working hard to learn about some type of investing class, when we're learning hard to gain an expertise, the value of that hard work or the benefit of that hard work is that we get to raise our returns. And so I guess the question is, are you comfortable with those lower lower returns, diversifying, not spending a lot of time focused on learning and building an expertise? Or are you excited about some type of investing where you can learn it and the area, you can really become an expert, and you can boost your returns? That's the benefit.
I think knowing me, like I really want to get into like real estate, but I think I'm just like, like debt averse after getting out of debt. So like, it's always been like one of those like, do I want to get into real estate? But knowing me, I would want to really learn to get into real estate. But at the same time, I think practically or realistically, I'm going to end up just being conservative with it and kind of just being more passive, just, kind of just putting my money in the stock market. That's it. And just diversifying.
Okay. So you said that you really want to get into real estate. We are maybe not on the verge of a recession.
Yeah.
The Fed keeps raising interest rates. Right now is a great time to start learning about real estate, even if you're not quite sure you want to get into real estate. There's a lot of properties on the market. There isn't the frantic spring selling season that we had this past spring where everybody was like, you couldn't even get into houses to see them. Now is a great time to start learning. And it just so happens that episode 70 of the Bigger Pockets Money podcast featured Jay Scott, the man you see right here, talking about preparing for a recession. And he's talking to people who aren't quite ready to start investing in real estate, giving you advice on all the things you can do in preparation for it. You can start doing your research, learning your market, deciding which market, all while saving up so that when you do decide, yes, I want to be investing in real estate, you're investing from a position of not only financial strength, but also educational strength. You're not just jumping in with both feet on a whim and deciding, I'll figure it out as I go. That doesn't seem like the kind of person you are. Being debt averse means you don't want to be staying up late at night thinking, how am I going to handle this? Be prepared, know what you're getting yourself into, and then you'll have a more comfortable position when you finally get into it. If in fact you decide you want to, you could decide after doing some research, ooh, you know what? This is not for me. That's the best time to know that real estate is not for you is when you don't own properties.
Yeah. And along with those two things, I mean, Mindy mentioned use this time to research, use this time to become financially prepared. There's also a third thing I really like to do during these times of like transition in the economy and transition in ourselves is building relationships. This is a great time. We talked earlier about going out and building a local community of investors that you can become friends with and that you can learn from. But specifically, if real estate is something that you're interested in investing in, now's a great time to go start getting involved in the local real estate communities. Go start getting involved in the local BiggerPockets meetups or the local real estate investor association meetings or the local meetup groups that are focused on real estate. It's a great time to kind of build your network, build your relationships, because once it's time to actually start investing, you're not going to be doing it alone. Nobody invests by themselves. We invest with teams. And now's a great time to start building that team and building those relationships so that when the time comes, you're ready to hit the ground running.
Do you have a BiggerPockets account, Stephen?
No, I think the only thing is I'm just like, I don't. I'm sorry, I don't.
That's okay. I am going to give you a free pro upgrade, but first you have to make an account. So make an account at biggerpockets.com and then send me an email, mindy@biggerpockets.com, and I will go and upgrade you to a pro account so you can have access to our calculators. I almost said calendars. They're calculators. Access to our calculators, access to the different parts of the site that you don't get with a free account. And then you can really start doing research, because once that baby comes, you're going to have a lot of downtime where the baby is sleeping on you and you don't want to move because then they'll wake up. Another research opportunity I'm going to give you is to check out the new BiggerPockets and Fundrise collaboration podcast called On the Market. They are giving you weekly updates about the state of the real estate market. They talk to economists. They talk to different people who are in the market right now to discuss just what's going on and where it's going. And that's a great episode or a great podcast to listen to start your journey in your educational journey. And I'm going to send you a copy of The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. He recommends in the book investing in VTSAX. That's the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund. This is something that, J.L. Collins is even older than I am, and he's been investing since God was a boy. He recommends,
Wow.
shut up, Jay. You're older than me. Finally, somebody's older than me on the show. He recommends the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund. Set it and forget it. You don't have to do research. You put your money in there. This is every stock that is out there.
Wow, I'm actually getting fired up about real estate now too.
Awesome. Let's get you all of this stuff. Make an account, send me a note, and I will upgrade you. And then you can really get started educating yourself to decide if this is really what you want to do.
All right, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Okay, awesome. Well, Stephen, I really appreciate your time today. This was a lot of fun. I am super excited for your baby. You better send me pictures as soon as she comes.
Absolutely, BFF. You're going to get the whole shebang.
Woohoo! Okay, Stephen, thank you so much. And where can people find out more about you?
So me and my wife, we do have a YouTube channel where we did talk about our weight loss journey and our debt-free journey. So you can follow us on Instagram and on YouTube at Our Fantastic Life. Fantastic with a PH instead of an F.
Oh, I love it. Okay, playing off your last name.
Yeah.
Fantastic is my favorite word. Okay, Stephen, fantastic. Thank you so much for your time today, and we'll talk to you soon.
Cool. Thank y'all so much.
Thanks, Stephen.
Jay, that was Stephen Fan. I think you had some excellent advice for him, and I appreciate you joining me today and stepping into Scott Trench's shoes. Thank you so much. What are you up to, Jay?
First of all, I am thrilled that you had me here. This was so much fun. Hopefully we'll get to do this again soon. In terms of what I'm up to, we just released, BiggerPockets just released my 5th book, Real Estate by the Numbers. So I'm excited about getting that out. High five. I hope everybody will check it out. And now I'm just kind of relaxing and figuring out what the next book I'm going to write is. We're going to write a book together, Mindy?
I would love to write a book with you, Jay. Name the topic, and I am there.
Excellent. Let's do it.
Who did you write that book with?
I wrote that book with the amazing Dave Meyer, who is VP of Analytics at BiggerPockets, probably one of the most brilliant analytical minds that I know, and it's just, he made that book worth reading.
Jay, you're okay too. But you are right. Dave is wonderful. And I am going to give a little plug again for Dave's podcast called On the Market. It is a BiggerPockets and Fundrise collaboration. And Dave is the host of that show. And if you love numbers, if you're a huge number nerd, that is the show for you, because holy cow, is Dave a big nerd. And he talks about real estate and numbers and the economy. And it is great, big fun.
My second favorite podcast behind this one.
Aw, I'll send you your check in a minute. Okay, that brings an end to this episode of the BiggerPockets Money Podcast. Jay, thank you so much for your time. He is Jay Scott, and I am Mindy Jensen saying, I hope you get everything you need, Centipede.